Good afternoon and welcome to the Noon Whistle. I'm John Anzalone and
I'm Chris Trottier, and who do we have here? Elkhorn's finest and their own, Mr. Michael Dahle, YA and Career and Technical Education Coordinator at Elkhorn Area High School, #OneHerd, and the president of Esports in the state of Wisconsin. Michael, welcome to the show.
he's not a bad golfer either, Chris.
It's true. I got the trophy up here to prove it too.
Yeah, hits them straight. All right, Michael, let's jump into it. We got a lot. We are celebrating. I don't know if you know this. I know you do. It is Career and Technical Education Month, or how they just describe it in the industry, CTE month. So here's my question for you. Not everybody knows about Elkhorn Area High School's Career and Technical Education CTE program. Give us a little insight into, describe it, tell us a little bit about it. What's the state of how it looks and what your offerings are? Go ahead.
So I think for the most part, most people would probably be familiar with like vocational classes, something that's teaching you on-the-job skills in a classroom environment in order to help prepare you to go out into a career. The way that I look at a lot of our CTE programs in the high school specifically is that these are courses designed in order to give students a taste of what the industry would look like so that they can make informed decisions as to whether or not that this is something that they could see themselves doing as a future career, or maybe it's just a hobby or passion that they do on the side. I think Elkhorn has a great variety of CTE courses and instructors here too. Everything from, biomedical, actually a huge medical field here as far as courses that they can take: manufacturing, machining, welding, autos, wood, construction, even down to graphic design, marketing, computer science. It's really a breadth of what I think every career cluster that is available, so that students can get it, at least an experience with it.
Are those areas growing, Mike? Are those classes growing, or kids are experimenting with trying some of those CTE classes?
I know for sure our family and consumer science program is booming, as well as in our welding and machining sections as well, that those are starting to grow in numbers as we see a need within the community in order to better train some of those students to go straight into the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So we hear this question, and it's kind of, I don't know where it comes from, but this is a common question. Are the trades back?
I don't think the trades ever went away.
I think that's true.
It's that pendulum is swinging back, I believe. I'm a graduate of 2006, and when I was just about to graduate senior year, they were pushing everybody to go into a 4-year college, saying you needed the bachelor's degree, you needed this, you needed this. That's because we weren't seeing a lot of trade jobs or the trade industry where I'm from in Rockford, Illinois. So we were all kind of being pushed into that 4-year university pathway. And now we've seen a large number go into those fields, and now it's oversaturated. And now we're starting to see a neglected trade field to where it's an aging workforce. And as those individuals are seeking retirement,
Yep.
Now we're all of a sudden scrambling to try to replace some of those individuals and get the next, I'm going to call them batch of employees prepared and ready to go for industry.
Hey, John, do you know a good plumber?
Can I think on that and get back to it?
Okay.
Do you think that history tells us that this pendulum has swung over the last 100 years and we see everything come full circle, or we just flood one industry, or we flood colleges and then we go back to flooding the trades? Or is this unusual that this shift happened?
I think that there's a lot to unpack here.
All right.
And I think from a macro standpoint, like an economic standpoint, as you look at the way that certain states incentivize industries locally, that can influence the way that the pendulum swings. Prime example, if you're looking at where a lot of the tech startup industries are, right? They started in California, and now they're all migrating over to Texas because it's cheaper. I believe there's no income tax in Texas. And the state is offering incentives for those companies to relocate there. Same thing in the state of Wisconsin here when we see like our economic development alliances starting to push initiatives for what the employers need that then influences the pendulum and where it's going to swing. I know I was just reading a bill the other day about, so again, I'm big into gaming, obviously, but there's a bill being proposed in order to try to help influence local citizens being hired. Wisconsin has about 75 gaming studios in it, and actually a majority of the employment is going to Quebec, Canada, and those employees are working remotely while the gaming studios are headquartered in Wisconsin.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about Elkhorn and their career and technical education department. So let's go through and just kind of define some of talk about the 4 key ingredients to like a career pathway that's been developed. And Elkhorn has about 36 career pathways developed at their high school. So talk a little bit about industry recognized credentials, work-based learning experiences, dual credit, CTSOs, define those. Talk a little bit about how those play a role and in the programming of a career and technical education department.
I think the first big one that I love that we have here is the number of dual credit opportunities for students.
And what is a dual credit? What does that mean?
Dual credit means that we've partnered with a local college. In this instance, most of our courses are transcripted through Gateway Tech. So many courses that are transcripted, students can actually walk out with an associate's in certain pathways. I know there's an associate's of marketing that they can leave Elkhorn without ever stepping foot on Gateway's campus and receiving that 2-year degree.
Is that relatively new, Mike?
It's been here since I've been here. So this is my 4th year at Elkhorn.
Okay.
I know there's, I believe it's a sequence of 7 business classes that they have to take. And then the Intro to Success, which is an online asynchronous class that they can take through Gateway. But we have technical certificates in like certified nursing assistants, welding, different levels of like CNC machining. There's just so many different ways that students can actually pursue a higher education degree while in this building for free 99, which is really
and some of those are offered at the high school in regular programming. Some of the kids have to come to Gateway. Let's talk about the role industry recognized certifications or credentials play in. So like I know there's always been a push to get kids industry recognized credentials. So talk a little bit about how that plays a role in the current CTE programming.
For some pathways, it's basically a requirement. Just to be able to get in, say like the OSHA 10 certification, the Occupational Safety and Health, right? Association. And it's just a basic certificate that they know how to be safe on the job site. That's one that's going to be required in a lot of like construction and engineering type sectors. Whereas there may be some others, say like Microsoft Office Suite. While it may not look like much to many outsiders, in industry, they're still only using Microsoft. They're not using Google Suite as industry standard. So it at least shows that these students have somewhat of a proficiency within how to use and manipulate some of these pieces of software. And sometimes it just looks good that that you kind of already know your ways around certain types of software features in order to rank you above somebody else.
Yeah. And then the other piece, we have career and technical student organizations like DECA and HOSA, and those are just activities where kids engage. But let's talk a little bit, kind of get more personal and where you spend a lot of your time. Talk a little bit about youth apprentice and work-based learning experiences. How many do you have right now?
Is it rising over the last?
Yeah. How many do you have right now?
So I have last year's numbers from Miss Pella and then my own numbers this year. I looked at it so far just before this, so I was doing my homework beforehand. I have 13 students in a Department of Public Instruction co-op where they're earning an employability skills certificate. And then I have 37 currently placed youth apprentices from machining, welding, certified nursing assistants, marketing. I mean, you pretty much name an industry, and I probably have somebody there. I have another 20 to 25 that I'm looking to be placed on the job site within about the next month as they're starting to look at summer jobs, as well as students are completing their second trimester of courses here. I would say my hot demands right now are electrician. A lot of students wanting to go into electrical. I've seen a number too that are still looking for certified nursing assistants. And culinary is a big one as well too. So with the amount of resorts that we have and more medium to upscale restaurants in the Lake Geneva area, we have a number of students that are looking to go get a real experience in a kitchen or on a resort.
So John, why don't you talk a little bit about your son who went through Elkhorn High School, and what was his experience, and how did, he's obviously a plumber now. So talk a little bit about how CTE impacted his professional world.
Yeah, it was a great experience and one he got into late, but I think what it did was originally he thought he wanted to get into electrical, and it turned out after he did a youth apprenticeship for electrical that he found out he didn't want to do that, and he tried HVAC, and then he tried plumbing, which is where he ended up. But I think he had an opportunity to try those things in an environment where it didn't cause him to have to apply for 3 jobs out of high school. And he got all those experiences, knew where he wanted to go, and kind of took off from there, and just, went right into his apprenticeship. And yeah, it's been great.
Michael, what's about the starting salary for most kids who are looking into getting into a Department of Workforce Development YA youth apprenticeship?
I know the median that we have right now is 15. We have some that are making over $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And I know we have some that are already, as soon as they graduate, they're signing their full-time employment with some of these companies. So
is there a minimum? So someone can't go, yeah, I want to do that, but I only want to offer, $9.50 an hour.
Well, DWD says the minimum that you have to offer is minimum wage. So the $7.25 an hour. However, if you look in today's market and you're trying to attract and recruit new employees, you're probably going to have to go a little bit higher. I think some of the lower end that we see is like $11.25.
Okay.
With certain fast food chains, and those students are in kind of a assistant manager type training position with some of the competencies that they have to learn on the job. So again, some of these skills that they'll be upskilling themselves through the youth apprentice while working on the job.
Could it be anything if a student came in to say, hey, I really want to get involved in this? Is there anywhere out there? I mean, is it limitless as far as who you could find, or a business or agency, or is it only certain ones?
I will be 100% honest. There aren't all opportunities available within the community. With youth apprenticeship, and they're trying to hit 450 hours, hitting that threshold can be quite difficult for certain positions.
Sure.
For example, I have some students that are looking at, some want to go into like either journalism or graphic design, or sometimes even marketing. The closest agencies for some of those types of places, or where those industries are located within the state, are going to be a little bit more urban centered.
Yeah.
So depending on how far some of these students are potentially willing to drive, I am trying to get somewhat creative with programs that we offer, or clubs that we have on campus that we can maybe leverage a little bit, just to get them even into like the DPI co-op, which is only 90 hours of paid experience, to where we can kind of sometimes leverage that, if you call it a bucket, if you will. So that way those students can still get some of that experience while earning a couple bucks. So
sure.
Yeah, and John, there's for youth apprenticeship, there's 13 clusters right now of potential jobs.
Okay.
And with new ones and additional ones coming on. The most recent ones were in business and in education. So I think they're looking at law enforcement and human services coming on next.
Yeah.
So it continues to grow, and I know that there's been a heavy emphasis at the state level coming, and I can speak to our economic development groups, the governor, and their vision for 2025 includes a significant investment in dual credit opportunities and work-based learning experiences like youth apprentices. So those are looking to grow, and we are always looking to grow those. They are plentiful in our area and continue to find different opportunities. So.
Yeah, what you do, Mike, so important. It's so important to connect so many facets of the educational process and give opportunities. And like Chris said, my son was someone who took advantage of that, and I'm glad he did. So thanks for what you do.
And it was nice to hear that little shout out from our fellow Rotarian, John Henderson, who always is connected to the Noon Whistle. So thanks, John. Yes, we do have great opportunities at Elkhorn School District. So as we kind of wind down here, the Noon Whistle, let's, how do you want to close there, Mr. Anzalone?
I don't know. We had talked before, and you kind of threw around that. What's your favorite concert or one of your favorite concerts that you've been to?
Mr. Dahle likes to go to shows. I know that.
Yeah.
So,
well,
all right, let's go.
It kind of scared me when Mr. Dahle said he was graduated in 2006. I'm like,
yeah, that was a little alarming. I agree with that.
Yeah, my car's a 2004, but
which is newer than your socks. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want to go first, Mike?
Yeah. Kick us off, Michael.
All right. So I've been to probably about 400 shows.
Oh boy.
And my favorite one ever is I took my one personal day that I had for one school year, and I drove 23 hours down to Houston, Texas, with my best friend Gina, and we drove all the way down there to see a couple UK bands called Enter Shikari and Architects. They were playing in just some small little venue. They weren't very big bands at the time, or at least not in the U.S. Drove down there on a Friday night, got in at like 9 o'clock in the morning, saw the show, went and got like 3 hours of sleep, and then started driving back from Texas. And I came back. I got home at like 10 p.m. on Sunday or something like that. My alarm went off at 5 a.m. to go teach the next day. So it was a little weekend trip down to Texas.
Just full to go commitment. I love it.
Yeah, great.
So, I mean, eventually I do want to try to get over to like the Leeds and Reading Festival in the UK and go to like the music scene over there is so much different than what I would say popular music is here. So
that's great. John, who do you got?
You know, there's been a top three, but I'm going to go with, probably something you wouldn't expect. One of my favorite was a Lionel Richie concert. Now this was years ago. So a little guilty pleasure. I'm opening up here.
I like it. Lionel Richie.
That's all I got. I don't have any 23-hour trip. I don't have any crazy driving story.
Yeah, I think my favorite show, and I've seen a ton from Fleetwood Mac to U2 to Springsteen. You keep going. My favorite show ever, and this is going to speak to anybody who's ever been to Alpine, was Ozzy Osbourne, 94, 95. I mean, he was cranking it. And they just installed, I mean, the music was great. He's got a great voice. You would never know from hearing him talk, but he can really, really sing. And he puts on a great show. But the craziest thing was, for some reason, they decided before that show to resod the hill. And people sitting in the hill decided that it was going to be a good idea to rip it up and throw it. So it was just the most bananas thing. I was like 20th row waiting for Ozzy, and you look up and all you see is like sod flying. But Ozzy was great band. Warrant was there. Yeah.
They changed that from Ozfest to Sodfest.
It was pretty close. So, all right, Michael. Well, we appreciate everything you do. Thanks for being on. I know we didn't get to esports, but maybe we'll have you and Mr. Eisenhoff on here in April and talk a little esports, bring the kids on. But Any closing comments, Johnny, you got for the fans?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay.
It's been great.
Quick shout out. Annie's opened yesterday, so if you didn't get over there, please make sure you get over to Annie's and support Jeff and Maria. And we know we had them on a couple of weeks ago, and we're just thankful that they're open and back to being normal. But on that note, since we're talking about food, our lunch is over.
Here we go.
With our lunch being over. Have a great day, everybody.